And we won't go totally that way, but that's a hard thing because that's why you don't see so many big wrestling companies, just because of the money involved in trying to start that, and there's not enough big money people getting involved with it.
Yeah.
There's smaller levels, yes, but not at bigger levels.
And that's not, I mean, and some of the people that try and get involved in it, after seeing what it takes to get there, and not saying I'm seeing what other people had to do to get to where we have a national company, you know, there's probably a handful of people that can honestly say they've seen an idea go to all the way to national television in the world of professional wrestling. Paul Heyman, maybe.
To a degree, yeah, to a degree.
Nobody else, really. I mean, that you can say. You know, I remember sitting on the lake with Jeff Jarrett, telling me about what's going to happen on the first TNA show, and being there and helping us mold that whole idea of what this was going to be, and then now seeing it all the way to 10 years later. It gives you a unique perspective, you know, and I can tell you, not a lot of people survive it because it's. I mean, you might as well try. And how do you become a billionaire in professional wrestling? I don't know. What is the joke? Dutch Mantel always says, how do you become a millionaire in professional wrestling? Start out a billionaire in professional wrestling. That's how you do it. So it's been a lot of trials and tribulations, but the key is not to, you know, be able to just bounce back from it and learn and hopefully, you know, persevere.
What is the importance to the fans and to the wrestlers, the knockouts, the talent, as far as calling a match, and the significance of that to the company?
Different matches, different scenarios, different times. You know, I always look back and just example upon example of, you know, when the show is good, when the product is good, and I always say this, you never heard, when Nitro was on top of the world, you never heard anyone complain about Tony Schiavone. And once the show went into the gutter, all of a sudden Tony Schiavone is the worst announcer you ever heard. It doesn't work like that. You know, the truth is, an announcer can make a really good match great, and can hopefully try and save a really bad match from coming across really bad, but at the same time there's not much you can do. If the product is bad and people aren't into the product, they're going to start pointing fingers. The announcing is going to be one of those things you point a finger at. But when something's hot, red hot, the announcing is just kind of there, I think. So, you know, there are exceptions. There are great announcers. I think, you know, my favorites for play-by-play, obviously Jim Ross, obviously Mike Tenay, obviously Gordon Solie, obviously Lance Russell. But, you know, I like a lot of the other, I've listened to a lot of guys, Bill Mercer, and guys that are...
That was Dallas.
Yeah,
right,
Dallas, and Bob Caudle, and just, you know, there's...
Bob Caudle, Jim Crockett.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Crockett, you know, Larry Nelson in AWA, you know, I've listened to about everybody.
Larry Nelson was way over the top. Wasn't he great? He was great.
You know, and it's just a matter of, you know, who did you really gel with? I gelled personally. My two biggest influences, I think, from an on-air perspective are Mean Gene and Bobby Heenan. No question. I just think in terms of what I really got into and what I would stop whatever I was doing to watch them. You know, what they did on TNT, or the primetime wrestling.
Yeah, sure that they had it.
Was my favorite thing growing up, you know. And I was an AWA fan from the start, but, you know, once I got to see Bobby Heenan, who I first saw in the AWA, you know, I remember the day, in fact, I didn't know I hated him, I didn't know I loved to hate him so much until I saw the morning that he left AWA. He came on television and said he was out of here, or whatever, it was his farewell. And I remember that night I went to a WWF house show at the Met Center in Minneapolis, and sure enough, Bobby Heenan comes strolling out for the first time. And I thought, that's son of a... You know, I don't know what it was, probably 10 years old at the time, but I just remember going, okay, this is what's going on here. Guys are leaving. Tried to figure it out at the time, but, you know, Bobby Heenan was always... And what a treat to be able to call him a friend now after all this time. You don't get a chance to, you know, really... a lot of times people say when you meet your heroes, you're disappointed, and Bobby was the exact opposite way. I loved him more after I met him. Just a sweetheart of a man and just incredible talent. I still think the funniest guy to ever be in wrestling, bar none.
Bobby Heenan did a lot too because people know him being humorous and calling matches and egging everybody on. But he was a wrestler.
Oh yeah.
He was a manager.
Well, you know what?
He was a decent. From what I read and saw, he was a decent manager. He took pretty good bumps.
His bumps were sick. His bumps were the most insane part of the thing because he knew that, you know, he was the one that he was the payoff to the end of the story. And if he's going to get 5 minutes in the ring with Vern Gagne after Vern Gagne beats Jerry Blackwell, he better bump around like a maniac for Vern Gagne. And he did. And you know, I think it caught up with him after a while, just the amount of bumps he took. But what a guy who got it and just understood what it was to be an entertainer. And you know, when he was, there were a lot of people that thought he should go on to Hollywood, and you know, I know Vince at some point tried to give him a talk show and a couple different things.
Yeah, he did. I remember that too.
You know, but at the same time, that was, I'm glad he stayed in wrestling, because you know, he provided me with a lot of entertainment.
Well, last thing I'll ask you about Christy Hemme, ring announcing, and you're ring announcer. So, what has it been like with someone new to it? Now she's been doing it for a while, but just new to it, and bringing her along, and how she's been able to develop with the company.
Christy has been, she's a sweetheart to work with, always fun, always listens, always takes direction, always is there. What I've enjoyed now is seeing her kind of get comfortable with what she's doing. And I told her when she first started, I said, if this clicks for you, if this works for you, you're going to look back at your first year doing ring announcing and you will want to poke your eyes out, because you'll be so annoyed with how your voice sounds, because your voice is going to evolve and your voice is going to get different and more, you know, like it's an instrument. And now I think she sounds better than she ever has, and she'll sound different in 3 years than she does now, but she'll just get comfortable with it. So I think from, you know, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of her. And you know, happy to see her successful with it.
Jeremy, social director, social media, everything else. Do we have Facebook, Twitter, anything out there we want to?
We've got it all.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Has anything come to mind for you that I'll throw out there?
Love it all. At
Jeremy
Borash, at Real Mike Tenay is my second favorite Twitter site to follow.
Yay!
And, and of course, at Impact Wrestling, we've got Facebook. We're on everything. So just check out ImpactWrestling.com, and we have so much fun with our social media interaction that if you're not following it now, if you're not watching the backstage past segments during our commercial breaks,
those are great too.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that you guys are doing.
Well, what's great is when
really
something happens that you're not supposed to see. You know, I literally have the camera set up right in the aisleway where guys come back through. So a lot of times it's, you know, can we show this? Well, yeah.
You never, right, even though it is what it is, you still never know. They're just coming back, they just did this, they just did that, and all, so.
We have no delay on it either, and that's got us a couple times too. But it's internet, and if something slips out that's not supposed to,
well,
it's out there.
Yeah.
No safety net, even
no
better,
safety
right?
net. Yeah, hey, why not? Why
this
not?
is like what is it, the trapeze artist? Without,
right.
It's like, okay.
Just whatever happens, happens, and you know, if you're there to see something you're not supposed to, well, you were one of the lucky ones. You know?
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.